like to go ahead and take the next one?
Sure. So the first one I read this month was Fahrenheit 451.
Yes.
So yeah, this was one that's obviously been on the list for a while. I've known about it for a long time too, and I didn't ever know what to think about it until we started getting into more of the dystopian novels. Like my original thought was just like, cool, it's just a firefighter who burns books. So,
But that
and
is sad.
yes, it is sad. Now, that is also sort of what this book is. It is sort
Mm,
of just that.
it's just that.
Um, yeah, there's not really anything else that it tries to add to this. It is just book burning is bad. Try not to subdue knowledge. And it's like, yeah, that's a very important point, especially these days.
Hmm.
Um,
I think the
because
point is really important. Like when I read it, I was like,
yeah.
this is like, we need to be listening to this point because, well, what do you think? Like, do you think that it's a real fear, or the way they describe it in the book? Do you think it's realistic as a dystopia?
So, let's get into let's come back to that in a way.
Okay.
So we have him coming back from work after burning some books in this house, and he meets this kind of odd person next door, and he realizes that she's not like anyone else, and she has a bit of a kooky family. You're not allowed to sit out on the porch or anything and talk, but they do kind of do that in secret in their house.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to be really having that type of discussion type thing. You're allowed to like play poker or watch TV, but you're not really allowed like the philosophical discussions. But
No.
she's just outside and she'll like when if it's raining, like look up, open her mouth and just drink the rainwater and stuff. And I'm like, okay, she's just trying to enjoy life. She's not like our main character's wife, who is just addicted to television because basically in their house we only see like two rooms. We see the bedroom where it looks like the wife just tried to commit suicide at one point at the beginning of the story, and then
Yes.
like the TV room, which appears to be like four walls of just massive TVs that just surround you and like make you a part of the story, I guess. They call it like the family at times
Yeah,
too.
I find this so disturbing.
Mm. And yeah, that part I didn't find as disturbing. But my favorite character in this entire thing, or the most interesting character, is the chief, the firefighter
Yeah,
chief,
yeah, yeah.
because he's the one I feel like. So he's the antagonist, but he's also the one who tells us more about this world. And he eventually ends up having a very deep discussion with our main character. And basically, what he tells him is this how we got to this point.
Yeah.
And he was saying, like, books, they were a bit too long for people. People didn't like that. And also, books would also, it would make people sad or angry. So anything that people rejected was just gotten rid of. So, like, if people don't like Christianity, then the Bible was just completely erased.
Hmm. This is very
And
dangerous, though.
yes, yes, because it gets to the point as well, like, oh, this book is too long. We're going to make a pamphlet of it because people don't have the attention span anymore
But
to read a whole book.
I think this is happening. You know,
But yeah,
people
the
are
pamphlet,
reading Cliff Notes and Wikipedias, and they're talking. Or
oh
you could
yeah,
argue audiobooks isn't as bad because you're at least getting the whole book. Or they're listening to like some hacks on a podcast, giving like a 10-minute review of the book. Instead of reading the whole thing for themselves. You
sure,
know.
sure. It's a their uncle on Facebook who posts random misinformation and stuff to, it's like no one's actually reading and getting the information from like reliable sources or um if yeah, like for school, they're just going to some sort of like Cliff Notes thing, like you said, and not actually reading Hamlet or the Odyssey. Like, because I know people in my school did that
Yeah, of course, absolutely.
because people are lazy. But then he's like, well, it's not even pamphlets anymore. We then reduce it to one page. And then we said, honestly, we're just going to get rid of that as well. Like, there's no need for it. So then all books were completely banned. But what's interesting about this police chief is he has knowledge that he shouldn't have.
Yes.
So he also had looked at these books, but is still defending the current regime, whatever it is. We don't really learn about the government or the type of world that much. The only things we really see are like the highway, the people's houses, and like the fire station.
Yeah, this is a weird dystopia where we don't ever have that zoom out moment and see the rest of the world, you know?
Which I think hurts it. Um, I felt it was a bit basic, but that is why this is recommended more for like high schoolers.
Hmm.
Or at least like those are the people I've known who mentioned it a lot. So yeah, I do think that it's a very important book. I think I read it a bit late to really enjoy it, but
That's fair. I did enjoy it though, but I mean that I think
I
that
did
you're
enjoy it.
not
I
wrong.
didn't. It does still deserve a yeah, yeah, yeah.
Cool.
Absolutely does deserve a yeah, yeah, yeah. Go
Then
ahead and
I'll
play it.
go ahead and do that now.
There we go.
So you did like
Yeah.
it, maybe just
Oh
not your
yeah, I did
favorite.
like it. No,
It's
it's not
not
my favorite.
1984, right?
1984 is still the top. We'll get there. Then followed by Brave New World, and then Fahrenheit 451.
Yeah.
I think that there are things to learn from this. I think there are things that you can enjoy. I read it in like a day. It was incredibly easy to get through.
He's an easy
Uh,
style to read.
yes,
Is
yes,
Ray Bradbury, you know?
yeah. And I do have another one on the of his on the list. I want to try reading I Sing the Body Electric because that was turned into a
Fantastic.
Twilight Zone episode.
I've never
And
read
there
any
was a
more
lot
of
of
him, so I would be very interested in hearing about that.
I think that one's about like a robotic nanny or
Hmm.
something. They kids kind of take parts and put her together. It's somewhat creepy, but yeah, I don't know. It sounds
So
interesting.
the reason I find the book so disturbing was because the stuff about getting rid of literature. I mean, yeah, there's been some, book bannings here and there, but it's more the retraction of the stuff into summary form. And I'm like, well, I see people doing that. And I see people with lower
Yeah.
attention spans and all this kind of stuff. Then you couple that with the stuff about the family. And I'm like, oh, but people are getting like bigger and bigger TVs and all this kind of stuff. And, then the wife is just, I mean, she's obviously not happy because she tried to kill herself, but she presents this idea that she's happy because she's so obsessed with the family. And I'm like, well, people are doing this. They're watching their TikToks, they're influencers, and they care about these people and they love these people. And this is just the next step. It's like, well, now I've got it on all four walls of my house, and I'm like just addicted to what they're doing. And it's like a reality TV kind of thing. And I'm like, give it 5 years. I don't think this is unrealistic, you know?
I think that specific situation is unrealistic because people are moving away from like the stationary to the
Hmm.
portable. Because
Well, yeah, it's going
stationary
to be more
means that you actually
portable.
have to be in one spot. People want to keep moving and be able to, lie down and watch things and
That's
stuff
fair.
like that. So I don't think that we're necessarily going to get like the walls of TVs and all that. But yeah, we are absolutely seeing book bannings and book burnings in the States. I know they happen quite often. Um, well, more often than they should. And yeah,
Which is any at all.
yeah, 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 exactly, exactly. It's like, well, all right, you're burning books that honestly you don't understand. Because
Yeah.
yeah, they have burned Fahrenheit 451. That is one of the books that they do burn at the book
That's
burnings. It's the most ironic thing.
it's just a total failure to I can't even comment on it. The action speaks for itself. It's just
Can
I
we
can't I
just
have no words.
can we just line every version of Fahrenheit 451 with like nitroglycerin? And if it ever
Yeah.
does get burned, it just blows up. Like,
If you burn it, it's like the whole point was lost on you, you absolute idiot, you know? It's
yeah,
like
yeah. So I do think it's slightly basic, but if you want an introduction to dystopian, I'd say this is actually a really good way to start them because you'll
yeah.
be able to see the style and some of the warning signs. Um, but yeah, it's not exactly high literature, I might say.
It's not high literature, no, but I find it the most realistic of the dystopias, but that's only because it doesn't do that much,
I
you
think
know?
I thought you said 1984 was the most realistic.
1984 is scarier, and yeah, maybe it still is more realistic. I it probably still
Everything to do
is.
with the government
Yeah,
part.
all that. Fahrenheit's realistic because it's just like, well, what if we ban books and we're all addicted to TikTok? And I'm like, oh, well, there we go. Like, they haven't given you
No, that's
anything else
fair.
to go on. It's not Brave New World. There's no like sci-fi element. It's just like, yeah,
Yeah, there really isn't anything else to this world. We know that there is a robotic dog that like can sniff out and follow your scent wherever you go,
mm,
which is a bit terrifying. And they can like then stab you and either kill you or paralyze you, and then you just kind of disappear. We don't really know what happens to you at that point.
that's more of the typical
And
dystopian element coming in.
and really all we see is like the highway. Otherwise, minimum speed limit is like 120 miles an hour, which is insanely fast. They have to stretch out their billboards to be like 200 feet long so people can even read them. But it's illegal to cross the road because obviously you're going to be hit by a car.
Yeah,
And that's how like Clarice, the girl, like the strange girl dies. I'm like, right, I get what you're trying to do. You're trying to be different and everything up until now is great, but I'm like, that was just stupid. Just trying to cross the road when
yeah.
cars are going hundreds of miles an hour.
Well, but overall, yeah, not high lit, but it's decent, right?
I do think it was generally decent. I'd recommend it.
Fair,
Yeah, B
but not as
plus,
good as the other two.
B plus.
Fair enough.